So in this session we're going to look at image capture, both video and stills. We're going to look at how we can actually get you into a situation where you control what you're doing. So you may be familiar with use of things like grey cards. Now a grey card is a great idea because it gives you a frame of reference. So let's put this into context. You go out, you do a shoot, basically you're at an activity, a venue, an event, and you get back to your studio and you want to retouch your images. But the question is, okay, what were my colours? Were they correct? Was there a bit of a colour cast in there? What's going on with my images, basically? So in order to give you that frame of reference, you need to have some known parameters. So something like a grey card is great, in as much as it gives you a known value of grey, and blacks and whites, for instance, that you can actually refer to. You can use colour pickers or white balance tools in order to actually work with those to actually find out how much your images are correct or off. So, lovely idea, but of course, there's some other ways of doing it. And this is a new gadget, basically. It's called the Spider Cube, and it's a great little tool. It gives you a grey card, but in something that's a lot more pocketable. The thing with a grey card, you need to actually angle this correctly. So you need to have it at 45 degrees to the inherent lighting coming in, basically anything that's incumbent. And if you haven't got it at that range, then you're going to get your grey values and potentially your contrast levels wrong. So we've got a big advantage with this cube. Firstly, it's small. So therefore you can actually carry it around, pop it into a bag, into your pocket very easily. Secondly, pretty obvious, I can't put that on anything. I have to lean it or get somebody to hold it. Whereas this, it's actually tripod mountable. You can hang it into your shoots, basically. Whether that is video, you can just drop it in there at the start of the shoot or at the end of the shoot maybe, but as long as it's in those lighting conditions that your activity or your film is happening in, then great. And apart from that, you've also got the advantage that you don't have to worry so much about angling. Because as long as you've got this little hole, and it is a hole there, you see, pointing towards you, then one of these two faces is going to be roughly 45 degrees to inclement or incumbent lighting, which is great. You no longer have to worry about getting that angling correct. So basically just drop that in, take a shot of it, or take a few frames of it in the video, and then you can actually take that into your editing software later on, and you can be working on it from there as that frame of reference. Because we know on this cube, this is an 18% grey. We know this is a 96% white. We know around this hole here, it's a 4% black. And in the hole is actually the only place where we'd expect you to have 100% black. That's essentially your relative trap. And on the ball here, that's 100% white. That's the outer gamut area, that's your scintillation area. So basically, get that in there. You've got 5 known frames of reference there. And then great, from there you can start calibrating your video, your stills, photos, capture. So let's have a quick look at the screen capture to see how that works. Here we've got an image of our Spider Cube. It's been captured in situ in a particular lighting condition. And just looking at this, we can tell from the histogram over in the top right-hand corner here, and we're looking in Camera Raw here within Creative Cloud, so part of Photoshop basically. But we can see that's very much an overexposed image because we've got all our image data over on the right-hand side of our histogram here, this graph. There's virtually nothing in the shadow end. This is the left-hand side here. We can also see on screen, basically, we've got this red outer gamut warnings, i.e. it's over 100% white here, and also in the ball. Now, knowing the values that we do of the cube, we know that the only place we should be getting this red warning is actually here on this ball, because that's where we want that over 100% scintillation, i.e. real sort of bright flashy lights. Down here, this panel here, which is appearing red, that should be 96% white, so just below 100%. And obviously this grey is looking overexposed. But instantly we're aware that where I said about lighting conditions and you need the card, or in this case the cube, that we're reading to be about 45 degrees to the incumbent lighting conditions. Well, here we can see this is the brighter side, the lighter side, so therefore that must be where the lighting is coming in. So it's going to be about 45 degrees. So great, what we're going to do is we're going to use that side to set our white balance. So we're just going to choose our white balance tool here, drop it onto that side of our guide, and instantly that's taking out any color cast that's inherent in the image. Now, 2 things we need to do more. One is get our exposure right, And secondly, let's actually get that contrast or that shadow detail correct, basically. We know that that exposure is too high at the moment. So let's just drop the exposure slider down here until we get that outer gamut warning disappearing. So as soon as that outer gamut's gone out of here, we know that's going to be around 96% now, because it's just below 100%. So as a rule of thumb, that's going to be okay. But we also know that this hole, this black dot as it appears on screen, should be 100%. So that should have that blue, in this case, outer gamut warning at that end. So in order to change that, rather than changing exposure again, we're going to use the black slider and just drop that down such that we actually get that filling in. And once we get to that point there, we've got that 100% black in that hole there where we want it. We know that around the hole it's going to be roughly 4%, so that's just right basically as far as our values are concerned. So what we've done there is we set a capture calibration. We're getting our exposure, our color cast, and our detailed at the contrast end of things, the shadow end, correct. So we just need to save that now. So let's actually save that within our software, within, in this case, Camera Raw. We'll just give that a name. So we'll call that Cal Today. But of course, you'd be better off giving it a relevant name to the setting that you're in and the time of day. So, you know, studio, morning, whatever it may be. Save that, and then of course that can then be applied time and time again to various other images by just going into our apply presets, and anything can then have that same calibration applied to it if it's obviously shot in the same lighting conditions, because that's the important thing. Anything shot in these lighting conditions are going to have the same sort of cast. So there we go. Happy with that. We've got our calibration done, and away we go. We're ready to shoot and be calibrated from camera capture. So there we have it. A great way of making sure you've got a point of reference for your imaging to really make sure you get that capture correct.